Hello again and welcome to the official EFL podcast and another show to savour for you this week. Coming up, we have all the reaction to the incredible story of Wycombe's promotion to the Sky Bet Championship. And speaking of the Championship, Jobi McAnuff is here to preview an exhilarating end of the regular season. But first, here's a reminder of what happened in that Sky Bet League One playoff final.
In from Jacobson, and it's in for Wycombe. Anthony Stewart. Wycombe Wanderers grab their moment in the spotlight. Their best ever season may well still have its fairy tale ending. Sykes. Options in the middle. Oh, it's dipped in! Whether he meant that or not, Oxford United don't care.
I'm expecting that ball to be flashed across the box. And I also think Allsop is...
Samuel gave that everything, so did Sykes. And here's Henry with the freedom of the penalty area and options in the middle. And Matty Taylor wasn't expecting the pass. He just thought Henry was going to blast it home. Fired in again, and the header is kept out by a flying save. Allsop having to be equal to that. Oh, and that's been allowed through, and Onyedinma is clattered. Wycombe scream for a penalty, which they get. Simon Eastwood came charging out and took everything there.
He had to come out and take everything. Unfortunately, Onyedinma just gets that little touch away.
Joe Jacobson, can he hold his nerve? He can! Wycombe are ahead again! Wycombe want the whistle. There it is! The second tier of English football beckons for the first time in Wycombe's history. The Chairboys break new ground and break Oxford United hearts in the process. They are poised, ready. The Championship welcomes a new name into its ranks. Wycombe Wanderers. The Chairboys are history boys. A season beyond their wildest dreams. Now the Championship challenge awaits those in blue. But first, it's party time.
Hold on. Tell me what we did, because I don't know what we did. Tell me what we just did.
Well, you've got yourself a place in the Championship.
I don't think they heard you in the back.
Hit me up on WhatsApp.
Tell me what we did.
You've got yourself a place in the Championship.
Look. Let me calm down. First and foremost, I want to thank God. Because today he made the impossible possible.
Amen.
And my next story, 4 years ago, I stood in front of you and I was technically unemployed. 4 years ago, I was here and I was technically unemployed.
That's correct.
And what did they? Let me tell you something. The only person that can hit me up on WhatsApp this time is Klopp. So we can celebrate together. You get me?
Yes, the Beast ending that package there. Well, I'm delighted to say two of Wycombe's biggest cheerleaders on Monday night now join me in club director Pete Couhig and their most famous fan, former BBC breakfast host Bill Turnbull. We'll start with you, Bill. How big a moment in your life was Monday night?
Well, I don't know about my wife, but certainly in my life, it was just massive. In my sort of football memory, the greatest night. So easily the greatest night. It was fantastic, and I felt hugely privileged to be there. I was just sad that no Wycombe fans or Oxford fans could get into the game for understandable reasons. But that was, well, I hope it wasn't a once in a lifetime thing, because I'd like to see us doing it, getting into the Premiership and maybe into the Champions League. So who knows? But so to this day, it was, got to have ambition, Pete. Got to have ambition. So to date, it was just outstanding and emotional. I cried. I'm not ashamed to say I cried at the end.
Lofty ambitions. Pete, I know you've only been involved in the club for a short period of time, officially came in back in February, and you're already part of this. Did you ever imagine this would happen when you first began in pursuing the club, you began your interest in pursuing Wycombe?
Yeah, obviously one of the biggest reasons we wanted to get involved in lower league English football is the promotion relegation. And obviously the preferred component of that is promotion. Yeah, we absolutely had the dream that we wanted Wycombe to be in the championship. But did we think it was going to happen in the first year? Not last July, but fairly early in the season, after we started playing, it was very apparent that there was something special going on with this club this year. The changing room, I've been involved in sports teams my entire life. I played football since I was 5, and have been involved in a couple of very, very special teams. And it just kind of reminded me of those, it was the brotherhood between all the players that nothing could break them. We even had a rough patch that no one lost focus, and so it was 12 months ago, no way I thought we would be here right now, but 8-9 months ago, we weren't allowed to say it out loud. We needed to stick to the core message. Our original focus for this year was just staying in League One.
But a lot of
Gareth
it,
a lot of it, miracles.
A lot of it, Ben, was down to belief and having faith. And I first met this guy in the cap here in a pub in Ipswich when we were going to the game at Portman Road. I think it was before Christmas, I think. And so we met and we chatted, and I thought, he's really interesting, this guy, and he was talking to the fans. He was completely unlike any sort of board member I'd ever met before of any club. And then we went to the game, and we got a sort of controversial 0-0 draw, but we were going to take that. And at the end, in the car park, I saw him. He grabbed me by the shoulders. He said, "It's going to happen, man." And I thought, well,
I probably said, dude. I probably said, dude.
Okay, dude. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I thought, well, yeah, okay, it is going to happen. And so much of this, I think, was built on belief amongst the players, with Gareth and the fans. I just kept saying, we if we believe, it will happen. And blimey, it did.
But Bill, what was going through your mind though when Joe Jacobson stepped up for that penalty, especially after he missed that one in the semi-finals?
Oh Lord, I was thinking, Joe, don't signal too early which direction you're going to kick it in, because I think that's what happened with the penalty against Fleetwood. I mean, he's a brilliant player, Joe, and he's a brilliant penalty taker. But at Fleetwood, he went for position rather than power, and he raised his arm and leant over, and the keeper could see. But this time, he raised his arm, leant over, put it straight down the middle. So Joe's a very intelligent player. He knows what he's doing. And I felt for him, because so much pressure. I mean, so much pressure on a player in that position. But he's a very cool, calm, collected guy. And he did it. So I was pretty certain he was going to score, but I was also in my mind thinking, right, okay, well then psychologically, if he doesn't score and it's 1-1 and we're going to get extra time and it's going to be an Oxford favour, all that stuff you calculate in your mind. Unfortunately, we didn't have to. But I thought, oh, here we are. Now we've got 9 minutes to go. We should be able to do this.
But Pete, how important? I mean, we've touched on it with Bill, but how important was the manager to your family getting involved at Wycombe, though? He was, certainly being something special for this club for such a long time as well. Now, the EFL's longest-serving manager, of course.
It was everything. Anybody who's met Gareth, within seconds, you realize how genuine of an individual he is. Very quickly understood how good he was with man management, and really creating the type of atmosphere where winning is a result that's expected, just because of the absolute faith and belief that he builds within the entire squad.
Bill, is he now simply the best manager in Wycombe's history? And what is it about him that makes him so special?
Well, previously, Wycombe fans have always referred to St. Martin, Martin O'Neill, the man who took Wycombe into the Football League and further up. And Martin, on the telly the other night, handed over the mantle of Wycombe's greatest ever manager quite very graciously to Gareth, because and Wycombe fans would agree, Gareth has done extraordinary things. Think back 6 years, we were one goal away from falling out of the Football League. We won at Torquay, but if Bristol Rovers had not hit the bar and had scored against Mansfield and won that game, we'd have been relegated. Next season then, though, it all changes, and then we get promoted to League One, 2 seasons in League One, get promoted again. There's only one person who's responsible for all of that. Other people have taken part in it. Blooms has been along the journey all the way, and Bayo and lots of other players, but one person has been there all the way, and that is Gareth. And if one person was going to have the character and the dynamism to inspire people, it's him, because he's different, isn't he? He is he's a rock and roller. Who else has got long hair like that and sort of stands on the touchline with his red cowboy boots and stuff? He breaks the mold, which is absolutely fine. That's what you want. You want character and you want love, and he has lots of love.
That hits upon it perfectly, Bill. And that's exactly what I think we fell in love with. Being students of the game, we understand that the truly great clubs in English history have been built around the manager. And just to see that situation here, and Bill told you the story, from Torquay away to this point, it was just readily apparent that there was something special going on the football side. And it gave us the opportunity to just concentrate on the business side, because that's our job. The football is Gareth's job. Our job is to improve the business, to be able to improve his budget every single year and give him a better chance at not just survival, but promotion.
Pete, you're obviously in the Championship now, as we can see with the trophy just behind you there. I think it's probably fair to say you're maybe the smallest club in there. How much are you relishing being a part of that challenge?
We're the biggest little club in the world now, aren't we?
I'd agree with that.
We're in the fifth. The Championship is the 5th most watched league in the world. Our budget for next year will be possibly the smallest budget in the Championship forever. It's a tremendous opportunity for us to take advantage of the football fortune and invest in the infrastructure of the club. We don't have an academy. We don't have a prospect team. We don't have reserves. It gives us the ability to invest in what Gareth and Dabo have been doing for other clubs for the last few years and did for this club before they had to close the academy because they ran out of money. So the fact that we are able to look at the turnover that's going to come in over the next year and be able to invest that smartly in the infrastructure to give us a platform to succeed in the future is a dream come true, really.
I think what's important to remember here also is the stability that the club now has. So with COVID-19, a lot of clubs, sadly, are going to be in real financial difficulty. There's no doubt about that. And I think people are going to be shocked to see what happens to clubs over the next couple of seasons. We're in a very fortunate position that having got the Couhig family involved, we know that we're stable. That's not going to happen to Wycombe Wanderers. It's going to be okay. Win, lose or draw, the club is going to be okay. They're not going to walk away and say, oh, well, never mind, we've had our chips. Are we, Pete? We're going to had our chips and that's it.
Wycombe till I die, Bill. Wycombe till I die.
So we're going to, it's very heartening to know that is a solid platform on which to build.
Well, Bill, for you as well, I talked about this off camera with you, but how special will it be to welcome such big names to Adams Park on a regular basis?
Well, we played half of them before, to be honest. Queen's Park Rangers, Brentford if they don't go up, Reading, Cardiff, Stoke. We've beaten Fulham before now. And so half of the teams in that division, I know it's daunting, but it shouldn't be frightening because we've done it many times before. So just people think, oh, it's the Championship. Oh, I think it'll be okay. It'll be lovely. It'll be great. It'll be great fun. And there's no doubt about it. You know, people always used to say to me, oh, yeah, Bill supports Wycombe. Funny little club, isn't it? Isn't that sweet? You know, why do you support a lower league club? And I would tell them because it's about being part of a community and a club having a heart and all that sort of thing. But now we've got that, but we've got the other thing as well. So we're all going to enjoy it. We're all going to enjoy it massively. And I think it's going to be better for us than people imagine. Remember last season, 1 or 2 people had Wycombe down for relegation at the beginning of the season. And they will again next season. And Pete will say, bring it on.
That's right.
And Pete, final question to you. How are you going to keep them up next season, you know, against all the odds? I'm guessing, you know, keeping hold of the manager is one of the most important factors.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that gives me that same belief and faith is when you think about teams that go up and survive, they keep the core. They have that special atmosphere. They have the good changing room. They don't try to, you know, the toughest thing in the world to do is to go up and try to invest in higher priced players and mix them into what was a very good squad and expect better results. And so everybody at Wycombe has the absolute faith and belief that our guys that we have on this squad for next year have the ability to do things that are unexpected. And so is it going to be a tough test? Absolutely. The player budget is going to be, we're going to be a small percentage of the teams that we're playing against. But Wycombe has beaten bigger teams before, and we're going to do it again. And that's because we got a great gaffer. He's realized one of his dreams by taking a club into the Championship. And I think it's going to be very, 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 very difficult to take him away from Wycombe.
That's not going to happen. I'll tell you, the fixture I'm most looking forward to, Ben, is one you might not expect. But my daughter is getting married on August the 1st to a lovely fella who's a Derby County supporter. And over the past few seasons, he's said, you know, how are Wycombe doing? I said, you know, how are they doing down there? Well, he's going to find out because we're going to play them twice. And I'm looking forward hugely to going up to Derby and having a sort of family outing. It's just going to be great.
Should be some fantastic family outings for you next season, Bill. Guys, thanks both once again and welcome to the Championship and good luck next season.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
So our Championship expert, the one and only Jobi McAnuff, now joins me. We start with the promotion race, of course. 2 draws from West Brom, 2 wins for Brentford, only 1 point between them now. This is all to play for now, isn't it?
Yeah, we've spoken about Brentford and how well they've done since the restart. 7 wins on the bounce now. And I think from their point of view, they're absolutely flying. You know, they've played really well and won games. You know, I covered their game last night. They weren't fantastic, but they got the job done. And they'll be confident of winning the next 2 games, that's for sure. So there's certainly a lot of pressure now on West Brom. You know, I felt that draw against Fulham was a big, big one for them because looking at their fixtures with 4 or 5 games to go, I felt like that was going to be the big, big game for them if they could overcome it relatively unscathed, which they did. Of course, they would have loved to have won the game. They still managed to take something from it. And I think given their last 2 games, again, I've touched on that. And, you know, if you were to ask somebody what 2 games you would want to be able to get up, with the greatest respect to those teams, Huddersfield and QPR, you know, for me, there would be 2 games that you'd be looking at taking maximum points to get yourself promoted.
Is the worry, though, for West Brom, if they are pipped to the post, if they do drop points in either of those games and Brentford win, it'll be tough for them in a playoff campaign to get over that because they have been in the top 2 for the vast majority of the season.
Yeah, it's a big psychological blow. You know, their whole aim, their focus is automatic promotion. They're not necessarily looking at the playoffs at this stage. So for them, and we've seen it in the past, Leeds last year, when you fall out of that top two and end up in the playoffs and you come against a team that's got a bit more momentum and maybe didn't have that expectation of automatic promotion or more happy to be in the playoffs, that can be an issue. So for me, I certainly feel from their point of view, it's imperative that they get in that top two and get automatic promotion, because the playoffs, as we all know, can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, on paper as well, as you mentioned, it's a good game for them playing Huddersfield next on Friday, a team that aren't in good form at all at the minute. Is having a game like that good for the confidence and getting it back, because they simply have to win both these games now, don't they?
Yeah, you have to be careful, and again, I say this with the great respect to those other teams that they're playing, and knowing the Championship as I do, there isn't going to be one team. We've seen it with the results, even teams that have got nothing to play for, the Reddings, they still go out and want to win. They want to perform. Everyone's got something to play for. Lads are playing for their futures, for their careers, and Huddersfield are no different. They need some points. So I'm not for a minute saying it will be an easy game at all. They're scrapping for their lives. And, one thing we know with the Cowley brothers, they'll have them well organised, well set up, to stop them winning. For them, any point's a good one at this stage of the season. So I do expect it to be a tough game. But certainly, again, for me, if you're talking about going up and being automatic promoted challengers, then these are games that you must win to do that.
8 wins in a row now, though, for Brentford. Is it inevitable that they'll win these last 2 games now, do you think?
You can never say they're guaranteed to win them. Again, you can only look at the form, 8 games in total. For me, since the restart is a real big one to look at, because there's been teams that have faltered, and they will be full of confidence. And again, the biggest thing for me is the fact they've been able to not play at their best and win games. That's been an issue for Brentford in the past, their consistency, where we know the ability of especially those forward players, but now they've got a real defensive still to them, in those last 7 games, and 8 in total. I think they've kept 6 clean sheets. And, that's a big, big part of Thomas Frank's transformation, I think, of Brentford. And certainly moving forward, if they are to end up in the playoffs or even go and catch West Brom, that defensive side is going to be a key factor in them doing that.
Yeah, Ollie Watkins, of course, on fire at the other end as well. 25 goals for the season now after scoring the other night. But Leeds play tonight as well, of course, still under a little bit of pressure themselves. A lot of people tuning in to this will have already watched the game. But how much belief will there be in that squad after that dramatic win against Swansea and that Stoke thrashing that you, of course, covered?
Yeah, again, for me, they're big signs. This stage of the season, I say it time after time, is about getting results, however you do it. Of course, you want to go out, you want to play fantastic football as they did against Stoke, and win games at a canter, which they did really, and play all the free-flowing football. But that's not always possible, particularly against those teams that are scrapping away. So again, to get that real last gasp winner, you get more from them games, funnily enough, because you've had to really work and dig out a result. And Pablo Hernandez, obviously, again, a top player, one they're very fortunate to have in their side. And, he's been a real talisman for them. They're sort of nursing him through, the remaining games. And he's been key to getting those results. And again, for me, they're pretty much there. They just need to get themselves over the line, which at times can be the hardest thing to do. But I fully expect them to get a result against Barnsley and really put them on the brink of getting themselves promoted.
Yeah, as you say, a win tonight will put them on the brink of that promotion. Does this game in a way suit them as well, coming up against Barnsley? Because obviously they have to go for the win. They have to, go for, as opposed to a draw, they have to go for all 3 points in this one for them to have a chance of staying up.
Yeah, I think we've seen, if there has been a problem for Leeds at times this year, it has been when teams have sat back and made it difficult for them to break down. Barnsley are not in that position, really. Of course, they go out there. I don't expect them to be gung-ho and open, but they certainly have to go and get points and win games. And again, we've seen with Leeds, when they do open up teams, when teams give them a bit too much space or they're chasing games, then they can be devastating. So it's a real fine balance for Barnsley to really have enough impetus going forward and trying to score and win the game and not leaving themselves exposed, and really opening up to what Leeds like to do.
Yeah, it's funny how these games fall as well, isn't it? And Sunday Leeds face Derby, which obviously could be quite symbolic as well after they issued that heartache on Leeds last season in the playoffs. Derby effectively out of the playoff race now, though, but is spoiling the party again part of the motivation for them, do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. Again, every single footballer up and down the country has got their personal pride. They're all playing for their shirts. Again, they're playing to impress the manager, the fans that will be watching at home, and no one's going to roll over. And particularly in this fixture, with everything that's gone on in the past, obviously Spygate, everything that came with that, and then obviously the playoff situation and Derby knocking Leeds out. So, I think it works both ways. Leeds would love to do it against Derby this year, and at the same time, I think Derby would love to stop them, at least for the time being, getting that promotion, certainly against them.
Let's turn our attention now to that race for the playoffs. It feels like Forest are in there now, but feels as if it's between Cardiff, Millwall and Swansea going for that final spot. Who do you think is going to make it out of those three?
For me, Cardiff are in the driving seat, very much so. I think, with the squad that they've got, again, that's been a big factor for me since the restart, being able to make a few changes, having that impact coming off the bench. Their substitutes have made a massive, massive impact on what they've done this year. And, with such a quick turnover at games, I think that's going to still prove quite pivotal. Obviously, Lee Tomlin's back up and running now. So I think for me, he's got that little bit of X factor that you need to help win games, whether it's creating chances or scoring them. So for me, I would certainly say, it's theirs to lose now. One, they've got a little cushion. But again, looking at the games they've got, I'd expect them to be able to take more points. I think Swansea and Millwall have given themselves a chance with their recent form and picked up some big results themselves. And they've almost got a free shot at it now. They've just got to go and try and win the last two games. They're obviously relying on Cardiff to drop points. But, all they can do is go out and focus on what they've got to do and see if it's good enough. But I've got to say, from my point of view, I expect Cardiff to finish in that top six.
A typical former Cardiff player there speaking to us. But is it fair to say that all three will be formidable in the playoffs as well? They've all performed well against the big teams at times this season.
Yeah, listen, again, it seems like we are repeating ourselves, but the Championship is the Championship. There's no secrets to it. It's very consistent in its nature, as are, the games that we see and the competitive nature of it. And again, traditionally, that team that comes through late or gets into the playoffs, and Cardiff have had a late surge. Let's be honest, from where they came from. Swansea have fallen away a little bit and now come back into it. Millwall, particularly since Gary Rowett's been there, have done fantastic. So whoever comes in and gets in that last place, I think will be very, very happy to be there. And again, that is a big psychological aspect moving into those playoffs where mentally you're prepared, you're geared up for it. And that can be a very, very dangerous thing. So whoever does sneak into that last spot will certainly be someone to be reckoned with.
Let's turn our attention, though, to the relegation battle now, though. And probably the biggest must-win for both teams this weekend is Hull against Luton. I'm guessing you prefer to be in Nathan Jones's camp now after that midweek performance from Hull.
Yeah, quite unbelievable. I was actually at home keeping an eye on all the results, and I couldn't actually believe it. I checked the scores and I thought it must be full time to start with. And I thought, did I get the games mixed up? I think I checked it at 6-0 and it was just still before half time, and then 7-0. And I can't actually remember ever a team being 7-0 down at half time. Like I was racking my brains, and that is a real. We talk about hide-ins, we talk about a team getting battered, but 7-0 at half time was just incredible, really. And I think for me, that would be a major concern. You look at other teams down there that are losing games. Charlton have been on the wrong end of some real narrow losses, but they've been in games. And if I was Gareth McAnuff, I would be asking questions of that dressing room. 7-0, 8-0 in the end. Where are those characters? Where are those leaders that, again, you have bad days at the office, but at some point there's got to be someone out there that says, right, this is enough. Goal difference again can be a factor moving forward. So yeah, for me, a real disappointing one from their point of view, and it shows where they are really at this stage of the season. To lose as badly as that is certainly that's not going to be very helpful for the last couple of games for them.
Yeah, as you mentioned, 7-0 down at half-time. You've touched on this, but what does that say about this team that can be in such a position? Like you mentioned, I certainly can't remember a team being 7-0 down at half-time. You can't remember it. So what does it say about that dressing room and how it's going for them at the minute?
Yeah, listen, the biggest thing to say again is they're down. They are really in a bad place, mentally for a result like that to even happen. But they've got to shake it off as quickly as possible. And, there's two ways of looking at it. One is that's it. They're dead and buried. They can't recover from it. But for me, I would be challenging the players. That is totally unacceptable, on so many levels. And I would demand, a real response in the next game. If those players in that dressing room have got anything about them, when it comes to pride, forget the relegation battle. You've just been beaten 8-0. So you need to come back and have a real big response and show that it was a one-off. And they shouldn't need any more motivation than one, trying to get out the relegation zone, and two, coming off the back of such a poor performance.
In a way, is that sort of a worry that there could be that reaction for Luton as well? He'll have to be cautious, won't he, Nathan Jones, in his approach for this match, because obviously the players have seen that result, so they'll be thinking that they're there for the taking. Yeah,
I mean, again, from Luton's perspective, you would be going into the game licking your lips off the back of some of the defending and lack of organisation, really, that we saw from Hull. But they can't be taking it for granted. I would be expecting a reaction, particularly early on in that game. I would really expect Hull to come out the traps. But we know, again, Nathan Jones, since going back into Luton, done a fantastic job. He's really managed to dig out some big results for them. And he will be very well prepared for that. And again, his teams, at the very least, are going to be competitive. They're going to be in your face. And I can't see that being a big issue for them. So, massive opportunity for them, potentially to get themselves out the bottom three, which again, psychologically, having been in there for so long and being down there for so long, could be absolutely massive for them. And whatever happens, it's going to go down to the wire. But this could really be a big result if Luton can get a win.
Yeah, it would be an incredible achievement if they did manage to get safely this season. But Wigan take on Charlton as well in what could be a huge game, depending on what happens with Wigan's administration appeal. I think it's fair to say that this Charlton team won't lie down like Hull did, though, on Wednesday night. No,
I think you look at teams, and for me, a lot of the time, they do reflect the manager, and certainly Charlton do that with, the fighting nature. And I spoke briefly earlier about some of their results. They've been on the wrong end of some real narrow losses. And again, for a team that's down there, that's all you can ask for sometimes. Maybe the quality's not quite there. Of course, they've lost a real goal scorer in Lyle Taylor. I've been really pleased to see Macaulay Bonne, score a couple of goals recently and get himself going and really contributing to try and keep them up. And listen, they're going to be in games, they're going to work hard, they're going to really battle, and they're certainly not going to lie down. So I expect this to be a tough encounter. From Wigan's point of view, again, they've been absolutely on fire in terms of their form. And for me, personally, again, I'll reiterate, I'd like them to stay up on the basis of their football, because the results, show that they've certainly been good enough to survive. So again, for them, this will be massive in terms of putting a bit of distance between them and certainly Charlton and the other teams below them, because we know they've got to make sure they're at least, 12 points above that relegation zone. So, again, a massive game with so much riding on it.
Yeah, but how, you've talked about narrow defeats for Charlton, but how disappointing will that have been for Charlton to concede that equaliser against Birmingham, though so late on? Lukas Jukovic scored that goal, especially with the games that they've got coming up now as well. Leeds, the last game of the season after this match, of course.
Yeah, that would be a a real dagger to the heart, that conceding so late. It's one of those, you come off the bus, onto the bus, after the game, and you'd be looking at the table, we could be 2 points better off, a little bit more of a cushion, takes a little bit of pressure off those games they've got left. But I think the pleasing thing is it's a game they feel they should have won, given that position they were in. And hopefully, from their point of view, it's not one that comes and bites them at the end of the season, because it's certainly 2 points lost given how late they conceded. But they had been on a little run of losing. I think it was 3 games prior to that. So he stopped the rot there. And I think from their point of view, they'll be looking to go and try and get a result that will, again, help them get a little bit clearer of that relegation zone.
Well, part of the disappointment as well being, conceding that goal to Birmingham, a team that have been really struggling in recent weeks, and a point for them obviously is really beneficial. It sort of takes them a little bit clearer of the situation as well.
Yeah, again, any teams that are below you or just near you, you don't want to give them points. And again, you feel as though, you've given them a point by conceding so late there. And I think that's how sort of tight things are down there. We could be talking about 1 point at the end of the season. We could be talking about goal difference. And, they're the games that you look back on because they're so fresh, and they've obviously dropped points previously, but where it's the running now, and it's so crucial to keep picking those points up, they're one that they could look back on and be like, listen, man, we blew it with that 2 point section that we could have. So, every point at the moment is massive for all the clubs that are down there.
Yeah, who else do you see actually getting dragged into it as well? I mean, Stoke, Middlesbrough and Birmingham still have the chance to secure their safety this weekend, but still aren't mathematically safe at the moment.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be between. I feel as though Middlesbrough will be okay. I think Warnock's gone in and had the impact that people want, and they probably only need maybe a point. I think when you look at Stoke's games, they've got some tough games coming up. Although they've got the cushion, if the other teams can pull off a couple of wins down there, then they could really, really get dragged into it. Again, Charlton, listen, it's going to be so tight. I think we're going to be talking about the last day of the season, different permutations. I really do believe it's going to go down to the wire. And whatever happens, it's going to be a real interesting day. Not for those clubs, of course, but certainly watching it from a neutral point of view, it's going to be incredibly interesting viewing.
Typical Championship, and that's why we love it so much. Jobi, thanks for your time again this week.
Pleasure. Nice one, mate.
And that brings the show to a close. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show if you've enjoyed it, and make sure to join us next week for our Sky Bet Championship playoffs preview. Bye for now.